Welcome to Talking Stations News. I am Matterall, here with Grigorin. How you doing, Grigorin?
I'm doing all right.
Cool. All right, just want to tell you before we start with today's stories, you can get the newspaper in the game from Talking in Stations every weekday. I'll show you what that looks like. But direct to your mailbox, you'll actually get just a quick little email, so it doesn't can take too much of your time about some of the bigger stories going around EVE Online. We'll try to pick stories high and low, left and right, so it's not just about nullsec. We'll try to find all kinds of stuff to surface, but this is essentially the written version of what you're watching today. And hopefully the idea is that we can bring the news closer to players as they actually play the game. Also, we started the Talking in Stations Corporation. Not sure what we're going to do with that yet, but we'll probably see Matterall in Talking in Stations Corporation soon, along with a few other people from the crew. And maybe we'll do some actual in-game activities like roams and stuff like that. So Talking in Stations coming into EVE Online in a real way, in a virtual way. So check that out. Also, if you don't want to get the email here in-game, you can get it to your real email, or you can actually visit our website, talkinginstations.com, and they will be published there as well. Let's go over to the news. Top story. Test announces post-war plans to move to Delve. They are confident that they're going to win this war, and they wanted to give their people in Esoteria at least 1 month of advance time. So from that perspective, the war will not end within a month. And after that 1 month, they're going to move their stuff over to Delve, and they're going to establish themselves in the territory that the Imperium occupies now. They also talked about... Well, actually, why don't we hear a little bit of that message? We have some time, so we'll do that today.
What we're going to do to a degree, which is that we're telling you now over the course of the next 1, 2, 5, 6 months, whatever, we will be moving out of Esoteria and into Delve in period basis. That is not like not a small decision to tell people, basically, but it is the reality of the situation. That over the course of the next while, we need to be ready to do the things that means, which is to bit by bit take our new space, and to bit by bit own our new space, and to do all the things that are required to live in a region that is not your normal home, basically.
Okay.
As you guys can see,
I think he lost the narrative there, so we're going to skip ahead to Pro God Legend as he picks up where Villy left off.
Moving into Delve period basis in Aquarius is a long-term decision. It is meant to put us in a more defensible position where we're not always fighting conflicts just to maintain our position. There is a lot of strategic consideration for it. We are getting an extra region out of this.
By the way, these are not Talking in Stations interruptions. This is actually recorded. So they have some battle going on at the same time. So you'll hear people pop into their comms and interrupt them as they explain what's going to happen. So here you go. This is the town hall from Test that happened yesterday.
There's more ratting space. As far as the difference between Delve Core and Stain Core, I think it's a wash mostly. Delve Core is in direct range of a lot of systems, but it's not in direct range of all the systems, and it's not in direct range of period basis at all. So we'll have more than enough completely safe ratting space, and I don't think Delve Core is that big of a problem anyway. Regardless, it is just demonstrably better space. As far as the timeline, like Villy said, we wanted to make sure that it was a certainty before we announced it. And at this point, it is all but a certainty that we will eventually burn goons out of Delve. That doesn't mean that we let up at all. That's something we're going to be talking about a lot for the next 10-15 minutes here. Is how much work there is left to do and how serious we need to take it. But if you remember back to the legacy update that I posted about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the war update, pretty much everything we've said has come true so far. We said goons are stupid for doing USTZ timers. They only just now switched them to EUTZ. We said goons were stupid for wasting all of their stamina on the keep star drops and the dumb bosun tactic, and sure enough, their numbers have been depleted ever since. We know they're running low on money. We're able to kill keep stars. We're able to kill their sodios. We've killed, a little close to half their constellation's worth of iHubs, and we're starting to push on their most important iHubs now. It's everything's going at a steady pace, and we are starting to burn them out of the region, but there's still a lot left to do. So, as Billy said, as we get more focused into Delve and period basis, even though we're really good at dual staging, and we're about to kick initiative's ass here in a little bit, in a couple of hours, there's only so much that we can do between two stagings while also putting in the effort in Delve that we need to. We've been capable of forming an Esoteria and Delve, or our second staging, this entire war, but over the next couple of months, we are going to need to put maximum effort into Delve and period basis to really finish the war, burn goons out, and make it our new home. And knowing that we're moving out of Esoteria, it makes sense to start winding down operations there. Now, what exactly does that mean? We're not going to move out any subcap fleets or capitals or supers or titans or anything for the foreseeable future. We will be able to form fully there, just like we will today, until the last moment. The last thing we pull out of Esoteria will be our ability to defend it. And even then, it will only be short term. The keep stars are never being unanchored. We will maintain our keep stars in Esoteria and some other structures in Esoteria.
Well, let's not say never.
All right, yeah, never is a strong word, but there's no plans right now to unanchor the keep stars. There are no plans to necessarily let enemies take base. There are possibilities of allies moving in, but we don't want to, commit anything right now since it's so far out. But it is not necessarily going to be given away, but we are going to de-emphasize it pretty considerably in, whether that be in 3 or 4 months. And considering that we are going to be de-emphasizing it, we are start unanchoring a good portion of the structures before the core update on January, so we don't have to core them. That's not going to happen immediately either. This is going to be a long process, but considering that there's supers in build and caps in build and tons of assets, we want to give a massive amount of notice for this, months worth of notice for this, so that we have time to move things without diminishing our ability to form for these Delve timers and finish the war. So, the most important thing is that we finish the war. We have to finish the war with maximum effort. We have to kill every goon structure in all 3 of these regions and drive them to low sec, and then we got to sit on their face and make sure that they truly understand how terrible their leadership is for putting them in this situation, and start to realize that Goon Swarm is not, in its current form, a viable alliance in this game. And maybe one day in the future they'll change and become something useful, or maybe they'll die. Who cares? That is our primary focus. We cannot deviate at all from that goal. So we need to be able to accomplish all of our additional goals, slowly moving into period basis and Esoteria, slowly making sure we evac ESO of things that we don't need there, some corp assets, industry stuff, things like that in our spare time. We want to be able to do that in our spare time at a nice leisurely pace that does not take away from anything.
All right. So we heard the top line of that, which is they're going to do this with all deliberate intention. So they're giving their guys lots of time, lots of space. They're going to keep both regions, it looks like. They will de-emphasize Esoteria, but they're definitely going to move into Delve. And this puts a lot of pressure on Tess to finish this war, to complete it. I think he does go on to say that he wants to see a few more people into fleets. And when goons have to either figure out what they do next, if they actually do lose this war, the question will be, do they stick around and harass Test, who's just taken their space? Do they make that their new mission from NPC Delve? And is that the right step for them to take if that's the case, if they lose this war, which is a big if?
Yeah, Asher was saying that Asher on his Reddit account was saying that when this announcement got posted to Reddit, that he thought that if goons win the war, they'd probably move out of Delve, but if they lose, that would mean this announcement means that they will probably stick around Delve longer than they would if they'd won. My interpretation of what he was saying is that, well, right now they've lost a lot of the infrastructure that made Delve worth staying in, so they might. He thinks they'd probably try to find, if they won at this point, another region to live in. Like Aerith would be. Said that Malpay would have been his chosen region if they had to move, for example.
But don't they have a lot of keep stars? Yeah, they're not going to leave those behind, are they? Like, are they going to start over in a new region because their roads went out when they have all these keep stars up? Or are they going to take these keep stars down? Will they be allowed to take them down? Like, there's a lot of questions about that. But what you're saying is, Asher is saying, like, well, we could go do this somewhere else that's better.
Yes, but now he's saying that if they do lose and Test moves in, it sounds like he's saying that they will be sitting in NPC Delve and harassing Test for a while.
Right. To at least deny them the ability to come in and set up their shop inside of Delve. And that would be a prudent move. On the other hand, the intention is not only to evict Goonswarm, but it's actually to, I think the term is to eradicate them or get them out of the game or whatever. And if they're going to stick around in NPC Delve, then that's going to make it so that Test doesn't actually have to travel to do their second phase, which is to chase Goonswarm around and try to keep them suppressed. So it works in many different ways, this plan of announcing moving to Delve. It is a bold plan, and we're not quite sure why it's so early since this war is still being waged, but I think they're signaling an intention to go all in. And I think that's part of the psychology.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the reasoning is entirely, because
I asked Pro God, and he said because we need to give them at least a month notice. There's way too many assets for people to have a 2-week move op. This is a big deal, so that's why it's purely because of scale.
I meant the reason for moving to Delve was, of course you'd need to do a huge advance notice to get people winding down their industry.
He does explain it. I'm sorry I cut it off, but it was going to go a while. But he does explain that Delve is actually a really good territory. It's very defensible. There's only one line of attack if you do it right. He also disparages Goonswarm for doing it wrong. But they think they can take that region and defend it.
Yeah, the main issue with Delve is that while it's very hard to do a full-sized invasion, NPC Delve is really easy to stage harassment operations out of. So, Esoteria, even though Stain is in range for a lot of harassment of Esoteria, I think it's a more secure region overall when you're not being invaded.
Right. Okay, let's move on to something that we wanted to cover last week, but weren't sure about it. This is also another town hall sort of thing, so we'll play a little bit of the Goon Swarm. But this is the Helm's Deep announcement. It was a fireside chat about a week ago. It was very well attended because it was a big announcement, big news was going to happen. So 1,500 people showed up on their communications platform. And this is what they said. We'll listen to a bit of this before we go on. I'll play it from here.
Looks like with... So I'm going to get to the heart of this. The big announcement is
the
nuts.
Mittani.
We are now in the 5th month of this war. We know what their strategy is, which is to slowly try to burn us out so that they think that we're going to leave. They think that they're going to have me here announcing, oh, we're going to Saranin. Oh, we're running. Goons are breaking. Goons are running out of money. Oh, this is almost over. Nuts. That is not happening. We have a strategy which we're about to begin to implement. We prepared for this now, I think like a month and a half ago. We are executing the first phase of our Helm's Deep plan. And I'm going to tell you all about it, and then Asher's going to say a few words, and then we're going to get back to fighting. So I want to give people a big overview. Obviously, before we go into this, our U.S. time zone was incapacitated by the election. We're not going to talk about politics one way or the other. This society is one of the last bowling leagues. I like the fact that we do not openly allow political yowling in Elysium. You guys know me. I'm a flaming leftist or whatever.
I'm going to stop it there for just a second and try to get it up on screen so you can watch it here. Whoop. I like the way he characterized his video game club as like a bowling league where politics isn't discussed. I think that's pretty funny. So I think it was right
instead of, well, yep, okay. As far as it's going to be to try to burn us out of Delve. One of the big differences between us and them is that we are defending our homeland and we're defending our people. They've made it very clear that this whole thing is to try to get us to be torn apart. And while we're talking here now, we're almost at 1,500 people on the fucking fireside, which is awesome. Thank you guys for coming. The only thing that is uniting our enemies is their sort of goon bandwagon-y kind of thing where they don't like us because maybe some goons scanned them or they were told that goons are bad or whatever it is. But they are not fighting for something. They are simply collectively going, goons, while we are fighting for each other. I think my bet is that we have a stronger society, and we have more will, and that we are here for the duration, while the enemy is not.
Okay, turns
so what are we going to do?
Asher here, I think.
Well, we have lost some outlying iHubs. It's been a bad week in iHub land, but now we are going to go to Helm's Deep. When I say we're going to go to Helm's Deep, this is a plan. We are going to be moving our capital ships from DTEC W to a system that we'll be revealing shortly. And we prepared it in advance. There is a Keepstar on a gate, which is designed for just this scenario. Like I've said before, the bad guys are sort of top-decking. They don't really have any big, amazing plans that they can pull out of their asses because they already banged their pots and pans together and were like, we're invading Delve. We have Keepstars here, so goons are totally going to give up and go home. This is one of the cards that we're playing. Our intention is to stay in Delve until the last fucking Keepstar falls. But we do not intend to have every Keepstar fall. We intend to fucking fight for these things, force these guys to fight for these things, and grind them into fucking paste while they go bankrupt. This is the Briar Patch. So, what are we doing? The Alliance is going to continue to make sure that you guys have ships to fight with. Also, we just broke 1,500 people on the fucking fireside. Congratulations, boys and girls. As you guys have seen, SRP is continuing to go out as planned. Our enemies keep saying that we are bankrupt. It is not easy. I'm not going to say that, oh my god, like, you know, Paying out all these butcher's bills is simple, but because of the old goons coming together to keep us fighting, we have been able to sustain these losses and continue to fund ships in warfare. So we're going to keep doing that. Like, there is no reason to give in or give up, especially because the enemy is tuning in, listening, hoping to hear us give in and give up. So what are we going to do? We know that at some point they will probably clear enough iHubs because it is hard to defend them in the areas that we have been losing them. We have always said we're going to lose iHubs, we're going to gain iHubs back, and we're going to fight them on the Keep Stars. What is next?
Okay, at some point he is going to tell us what Helm's Deep is, and I think it's right here. Sorry about that. I would have fast-forwarded up to this point.
What's next is we are going to be moving our capital fleet to E30I, and we're going to do that right now, like as soon as we get done with the Fireside, which is going to be now. Well, actually, not immediately now, because we're going to talk to Asher about the nuances of this plan. But essentially, that's it. We're playing this game on Iron Man Impossible. We're fighting against impossible odds, seemingly impossible odds. I don't think they're actually impossible, but it's an XCOM joke. Iron Man Impossible. The enemy is fighting on easy mode.
All right, I think he hands it over to Asher here.
Nice nature of...
Asher will get into some details on what this actually means. This is the Helm's Deep strategy of moving to the E30I system and blocking this gate basically for these two constellations behind it. You see there's only one entry point there, at least as far as gate to gate. Let's listen into Asher's detailed description and see if there's more detail there. Wrong one. Here we go.
E30 is there's one way in, one way out. The enemy will have to come through that gate. One of the problems right now is, the Delve is a pretty wide open layout, and they have, much more numbers than us. You guys have been out there fighting Ride Hubs. You've seen it. It's pretty hard to fight those numbers when, sometimes they're 2 to 1, sometimes they're 1.5 to 1. It depends on the day, right? But the numbers are something that they have an advantage of and that they're going to use, and that's fine. But we want to make them have to make choices about, do we want to jump into them? Do we want to go into their capitals? Do we want to fight on a gate? Right now they have a lot of initiative, a lot of impetus with, being able to choose the time and place where they fight, which is something that they want to do. So this is a plan to help us move some of the impetus back to our side, give ourselves some initiative on as far as when and where they have to engage us. So when you're in E30I, there are 2 keep stars in the system. We'll be going to one on the gate. Anytime you want, you can undock your carrier, undock your super. You can Skynet that gate. It means move the fighters down to the gate. There will be a full-time gate camp. If these guys want to jump in through that gate, they're going to have to jump into a very heavily armed gate. If they want to form up and bust through it, we welcome them to try. And they can come through and and anytime they want, and see if it works. Like that's the idea. As far as like other iHubs, like there's going to be more losses. It's just math. It's just numbers. Like they have a lot of numbers. iHubs, we have no defenders advantage in iHub, obviously other than the timers, but there's nothing like tether. There's no Keepstar turbo laser. There's nothing like that gives us the advantage. So we're going to just try to make that take as long as possible. But that's been the game plan for a long time, is to just make things take as long as possible. They've, in my opinion, the way they prosecuted this war has been really, really backwards. The longer an Eve war goes on, the worse it is for the attacker. They have a lot of people who have, grudges in the leadership level, and then there's a lot of people who have been, Mittens told them that he has more sex than them, so they're upset about that, and they're posting.
They get really mad about the fucking. I don't know why.
But the point is that that kind of level of anger is not sustainable. people start going home, they stop logging in, and the longer this goes on for them, the worse it is. So what I want you guys to think about is, we've got holidays coming up. We've got a war that's in its fifth month at this point, and we've got people who are not defending their home, and you guys are defending your home. So we're going to make this take as long as possible for them, and we're going to make it on our terms, make them have to come in and fight us as much as we can, dictate the terms. We're going to do that ourselves. So as soon as this firesight's over, we'll be forming our fleets, and we'll be moving over there immediately.
Welcome to the fucking Briar Patch.
All right.
All right. So yeah, that's it. We have a area we consider to be defensible. We are going to move our capitals there. To clarify this, I want to make it very clear, we are not abandoning 1DQ1. All subcaps and normal form-ups will remain out of 1DQ1. We are creating this pocket as planned. The enemy, of course, is going to come try to take it, but we have set it up such that you can hang out on that Keepstar and Skynet fighters all day, every day, such that if they try to jump into it the traditional way, they will eat all kinds of shit. And then beyond that, the plan continues as before. We have, again, like I've said, we're not, oh my God, we have tons of money, we're so rich. But we are doing just fine in terms of converting our assets to ISK. It takes time, but we are now past the danger zone. Obviously, paying the butcher's bill for all those Keepstars kind of sucked. If I was in charge of the bad guys, they should have really tried to twist the knife on us and go hard. And instead, after all the YZ9 hilarity and getting their shit up there, they sort of let us convert assets into ISK and have time to recover. So that's why SRP is continuing as before. And we haven't had any hiccups there. And I believe that we are out of the danger zone as far as that's concerned. Again, I'm not saying, oh my God, we have Ferraris, everything is great. Everyone in EVE currently is having ISK issues of one form or another, but our enemies are having worse ISK. Let me put it like this. So you're seeing NC selling Alliance tournament ships. That's fine. That's something that they do. They're converting assets to ISK just as we are. The weaker alliances that are part of PASPI are essentially running on fumes and are hoping that maybe their overlords are going to give them some TTC ISK or something like that, which I don't think they do. They get value, but the other little alliances that are among our enemies are in much more dire straits. Speaking of, I have another announcement to make, which is French Connection joined us in the middle of this war. They wanted to join the Imperium and fight on our side. They have been with us long enough that they're full members, and speaking of TTC ISK, that means that they will start getting a cut. As of after this fireside, I'm going to go do my payouts to make sure that everybody gets their proportional ISK, and French Connection will be part of that. So welcome aboard, guys. We really do appreciate that you guys have been here and fighting with us during this hilarious Iron Man Impossible situation. And, we treat our allies right. Unlike, the rest of the bad guys. So I don't want to waste 1,500 people, 1,560 on this fireside by then turning around and rambling. I've handled most of the questions.
All right. So I don't think it goes on much longer there. The point is, that's interesting, that little tidbit at the end, that the French Connection is now part of the Imperium, no longer an ally to the Imperium, but actually a part of Imperium. But essentially, this whole announcement was very much about the Helm's Deep strategy, which is essentially moving from where they were before, which was DTAC W. And before that, they were at 1DQ. This was their peacetime capital. It moved.
Well,
go ahead.
They still have their sub-capitals staged out of 1DQ. It's just that they had restaged their capital and super capital fleets to DTAC W.
Okay.
And since they moved from DTAC W to E30I, there have been multiple attempts to reinforce that constellation's iHub. The latest of which was earlier today, which now there will be a contest to take that iHub of a former staging system.
Which one? DTAC W?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can see this whole area is on fire. These red outlines here mean that things are being contested. I think iHubs are being contested. So most of these belong, as you can see, to the Imperium. This one belongs to test, but that's in a different area. But this whole thing here, including DTAC W. We'll come back to this, but to get to the point, so they moved capital to DTAC W, or at least their super capitals. Now they're basically moving everything to this area up here with the black ring around it. And they're going to guard this whole backfield because it's all sino-jammed, I imagine. So you can't just jump into it. You have to move through this system in it. And they're going to gate camp this 24/7 with, it sounds like fighters. And they're going to Skynet those fighters, which means they're going to hang out on, they're going to have a carrier hang out near a structure where it's tethered and safe. And it's going to send its fighters to go watch this gate. So anything that comes through is going to have to face a lot of fighters and drones. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. And the wyvern that was killed a few days ago in 1DQ that by being fleet warped off the Keepstar was fit for the fighter skynetting. So
Right.
I assume that it was on its way over to E30I to join that.
That makes a lot of sense now because we were trying to figure out why it was Skynet fit, and now we know. Okay, well, so that's the Helm's Deep. So that's the strategy. They're going to try to preserve this area here. They're going to make people fight for it. They jammed it all up so nobody can get past them. And here's a choke point they're going to guard 24/7. At the same time, you see the rest of Delve appears to be heavily contested, especially the old capital systems and staging systems of Goon Swarm. It looks to me like last week Goon Swarm made some progress and flipped 2 entire constellations, but those appear to have been flipped back already in favor of Pappy forces. So this whole pink area is Horde, and you have Test in there, and that's yellow. That's not helpful because Condi's yellow too. But you can see all this Ranger Regiment, NC dot Brave. They've all taken back a lot of this space. I don't see anything here except maybe this. I think it's completely taken back. So whatever progress the Goon Swarm made last week has been erased.
Yeah, I think I saw one Condi iHub earlier today. The system next to SVM3K, but I think that I saw that as Condi earlier today, but I only saw one in the area that has been invaded so far.
Yeah. That's a good point by Zam that says that flipping the iHubs is okay because it resets the clock, and that's true. When an iHub matures to 30 days, you have all kinds of new powers with it, and that's what you don't want to happen. So even just in taking out iHubs, even if you don't get to keep that system or keep your iHub there, you've at least interrupted the maturity of their iHub, which is an important strategic goal. Oops. Okay, so that's what's going on there. There was something else. Didn't you say that we'll go back to the map real quick. Didn't you say that the first faction Fortizar has fallen in Delve? Did you double check that?
I saw a faction Fortizar right as the show began. A faction Fortizar, which I'm pretty sure is the first to fall in Delve itself rather than Quarius or nearby. A Dracos Fortizar with the outpost rig was destroyed right then.
What system was that? Do you know?
It's 6Z Tax CKS.
All right, let's just see where that was. Oh, okay, right here. All right, so faction Fortizar fully rigged, wasn't it?
Yeah, it has the outpost rig, Upwell standard outpost rig.
Yeah,
that's what it has.
You can see like 300 people. That's in the last, just an hour ago. 300 people were in that system, so that might be the fleet that took it out. So we'll.
Yeah, it has 400 people on the kill mail, Nightmare fleet from Test, and an Eagle fleet from NC and other NCPL and Recon, and a Winterco Mutant fleet and a Horde Jackdaw fleet.
Okay. All right. So that's what's going on in Delve. As you can see, the big announcement today is that Test intends to move into Delve. And then last week we heard the strategy from Goonswarm was to block the gates to their Helm's Deep, the systems behind CI, what was it?
E3OI.
I'm going to have to memorize that system. Yeah, E3OI. So, okay. That is really interesting. The war is really entering, it has been for the last few weeks in a real slugfest, which I thought was kind of funny because I thought Mittani there was disparaging them for not putting pressure on Goonswarm. And had he been in charge of his opponents, he would have put a lot of pressure after they put the Keepstar down. And in reality, he also admits that they were financially running into bottlenecks where they didn't have enough liquid ISK, or maybe didn't have the ISK invested in the right places. There's a lot of things in that last part, which is why I let it play out, where he admits a lot of things that have been happening in the last 3 weeks. But what has happened that we've seen is once that Keepstar on its 4th or 5th try made it into Delve, there was a bit of a rest for maybe a week with light skirmishing. But since then, it's really been a struggle for iHubs. It's been a ton of combat, ton of activity. And so I don't know what he means by them not putting pressure, because there clearly is a ton of pressure coming on to Goonswarm here. It's forced them into 2 constellations, and they're guarding the gates to those 2 constellations. So that's where they're at. Okay, so let's actually move on from nullsec and get to some inner hell news, which is wormhole space. Inner hell. Go ahead.
Yeah, inner hell. They've returned. Their CEO is active again after he had been rumored to have been banned, widely rumored to have been banned. But the big thing from that I've been hearing from a lot of people was that he just needed to take a break and had burned out a bit, but now he's back and active again.
Yep. We know him as Max Dell, but that was his former name. I think his current name is Andremelith or something.
Yeah, like most people, he has multiple characters and goes by multiple names.
Right. So he's back, and what's interesting about this, take a look at this kill mail.
Yeah, they evicted a Laserhawk's farm hole.
Right. It's not called. It's not owned by Laserhawks. It's owned by Rainbow Knights, but that is basically Laserhawks.
Yeah, that's that's a Laserhawks Alt Alliance. While they're reportedly going to continue being friendly with Laserhawks and Hard Knocks, although when I was talking to Laura Secco a couple of days ago, he said that he doesn't really have that much contact with them now. Apparently, they are not including this old farm holes that are no longer in use, like this, which is this reportedly was in their
non-aggression pact or whatever.
Yeah.
So in other words, this was okay to take out. They're still allies.
Yeah.
Right, because we thought that was interesting. Well, Inner Hell's back. That's big news. What are they going to do? Well, they attacked Laserhawks Alt Corporation. That's very interesting because that's their old ally. What's going to happen? And it turns out nothing's going to change. They're still going to be allies with Laserhawks. They're still going to be allies with Hard Knocks. And I believe they're coming to declare war on the rest of wormhole space as they were doing before.
Yeah, I'd asked Laura Secco if he had about this rumor, and he said that the various gameplay changes earlier this year after the big wormhole war, particularly the resistance change and fax change, make that something that he's a bit less keen on doing than he was last time around. But we will see what happens.
Okay. That doesn't make much sense to me, because if they left because they didn't find any good competition, I don't think anybody's grown up to be good competition. So I don't know why they took off, and I don't know why they're coming back. There was some rumor that it was a suspension type of deal, but there's no evidence of that. And there wouldn't be, because CCP wouldn't tell anybody. And unless the players themselves admit that there's some disciplinary action, nobody would be the wiser. But it does seem really odd that they pick this time to come back, unless there was some kind of new content they were trying to achieve, and I don't see any of that in what's going on so far. But we'll keep an eye on Inner Hell as they've come back. They are the boogeymen of wormhole space.
Yeah, what I'd been hearing was that most of what they've been doing since coming back and setting their Keepstar back up was roaming nullsec with filaments.
Oh, interesting. And this leads to another fight that happened where Hard Knocks was involved.
Yeah, Hard Knocks set up what they describe as a content astrahus in J211936, which is the home system of Eve University's wormhole campus. And then they got a fight which both sides had formed up as much as they could get, which was for Hard Knocks was them in a Sleipnir fleet with Laserhawks coming in as backup, and for Eve University was a significantly larger Ferox fleet with Waffles coming in a Sacrilege fleet as backup.
Okay.
And
comment from chat from Nick Lorenzio asks, Eve Uni still around? That's good to hear.
So Hard Knocks did not win this fight.
Who helped out Eve Uni?
Waffles.
Oh.
Which those two are the two longest things I have on my own corporation history. For a while last year, I was actually the most active FC in that wormhole's U.S. time zone. Although since I've switched corps a few times, I haven't really been as active as a fleet commander.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent the majority of this year in Waffles until the beginning of October. So I know a lot of people on that side of that fight. So that's actually obviously the most of the information I've gotten from them.
Got it. So yeah, it looks like Hard Knocks kind of left it all on the field. All their ships were destroyed. I think one guy made it out from Laserhawks, maybe two.
Yeah,
there's a few more there.
So what I was hearing from Laura Secco was that they initially wanted to take the fight on their own, but then when they woke up to see 150 people in the Eve University Fortizar, which is the Corp's oldest citadel that they have, and when I was in there, usually never had nearly that many people in the Fortizar, maybe 40 or 50 if something big was going in the wormhole Fortizar. They called Laserhawks for backup to bring the numbers more into parity.
Okay. But so they were trying to even out the fight because they saw too many people defending Eve University.
Yeah, that's what Laura Secco told me. And since he's the he's the leader of Hard Knocks. I think Braxis is still the CEO, but Lorosecco is usually the one he's their main FC and stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So that's what he told me, and with the other side, they obviously formed up big, which I'm actually impressed. That's like twice the size of what when I was with them. They're the most that they ever managed to put into a fleet was. Like
So that's Waffles you're talking about.
No, Eve University.
Oh, you're with them too. Okay.
Yeah, I was last year for a while. I was actually the most active FC in their wormhole.
Okay.
Yeah, so they've come a long way this year in terms of PvP ability.
So these are your guys.
Last year,
wasn't there an effort? Wasn't there an effort to make them? There was an effort to reform Eve Uni recently, wasn't there?
I'm not sure what that would mean. I do know that for PvP stuff, one of the big things that they did this year was rework how they handle their fleet command group. So initially, their new fleet command group was actually led by Saber A, the former leader of Mercenary Coalition.
Yeah, Mercenary Coalition. Yeah.
Who before that he had been an Eve University director, so he came back to the game for a while and led this reworked fleet command group, and in general they've come a long way from what their PvP ability was a year ago, which was, to be honest, frequently the source of embarrassment and Reddit drama when they tried to do stuff.
Well,
and now they've come really far.
All right, good. Well, they are a learning institution, so you can't hold them to too much. But it's good to see they've improved and that you're keeping an eye on them. Saber A being back.
Yeah, Saber A has since left again, and but their fleet command group is in pretty good hands still.
Okay. Let's go to this last story here. Dragons of Idrisil.
Yggdrasil, which it's the name of the world tree in Norse myth.
Okay, well, it's according to Sully, and you guys know Sully. He's our streamer of live stuff. YGG was reset after the rest of the coalition found out that Dreadbomb that's a group, which is hostile to Legacy, has structures in their space. Interpreted as YGG attempting to depart from Legacy in order to ally with Dreadbomb. What is AT0? Is that the call sign for Dreadbomb?
At 0 is Dreadbomb's alliance ticker. See, it's a Dreadbomb at 0.
I gotcha. So they're seen as trying to like sneak out of Legacy, so they've been just reset, and that's that.
Yeah, like Scalding Pass is full of a lot of smaller alliances, which in general are more likely than not to be friendly with Legacy, since that's the neighbors.
Well, it looks like Dragons have fallen a good 60%, from over 200 to over around 140. Actually, 116 it says here. So they've lost a lot of people in the last month, it looks like. So something's going on there. Well, good luck to them.
Yeah, this brings up an interesting thing about Dreadbomb, and well, the coalition that they're part of is Wrecking Crew, which is really odd in that a few of its alliances are blue with the Wartime Standings group, and a few are not. Because it is the least centralized of all the coalitions right now. It's in some ways it's barely even a coalition, rather than just a bunch of alliances and others who do stuff together.
Right.
So
They have a strange arrangement. It's not quite a coalition. It's more like a collaboration among alliances. They don't organize together, but how do I put that? They're all equal in this group. There's no lead.
Yeah, so even though it's broadly friendly with PanFam and many of the core alliances, like Purple Helmeted Warriors, are on the wartime standings list, so are not fighting Legacy right now. A few of them are active. Like Dreadbomb has, since they broke off from a deployment for the war, they've mainly, from what I could tell, been dropping on Legacy space.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because, Legacy and Wrecking Crew were fairly friendly during the Providence stuff. In fact, Villy actually negotiated with Rocket X, the leader of Wrecking Crew, on some kind of a plan so that Proviblock didn't fall apart. And so it's interesting that Dreadbomb does it. And remember, the guy that leads Dreadbomb is actually former Legacy. So
Seto was, until almost exactly a year ago, one of the main fleet commanders in Legacy. Especially for the Fraternity War. Mm-hmm. And well, even though RC is pretty close with PanFam and has a lot of issues with Legacy for that reason, they do also have a lot of higher up ties that go back. Well, for example, the Kamal incident, when Snuffed Out tried to destroy the main Purple Helmeted Warriors Keepstar in Derelict, along with the Initiative, and then Legacy, while they were at war with Fraternity, Fraternity, and a few others formed up together to defend it.
Yeah. Against Snuff. That was an interesting moment. The Kamal incident, right? All right.
Yeah.
All right, Gregorian, we have to wrap up. We're over time. We have... again, more information coming to you. We'll write this up and send it out in the morning paper. If you want to get on that mail list, go to EVE Online, the game, go into the client, go to your mail, and at the bottom left on that column, you'll see something called mail lists. And if you click on that, you will subscribe to TIS News. It's not all one word. It's capital TIS and then news, just like that. And that'll get you on the mail list, and then you'll get these reports daily. If you miss them, they'll just be written out for you, and you'll have them there. And if not, you can do it at talkinginstations.com. You can see the same stuff there. Gregorian, thanks for helping out today, and thank you all for showing up and watching. We will see you tomorrow.